Your alarm goes off. You hit snooze. You check your phone before you even open your eyes. Now stop. Imagine none of that exists. No alarm, no phone, no walls. Just the cold air on your skin and the sound of the group waking up around you. You wouldn't last an hour. For roughly 95% of human history, this was simply what a morning was. No schedule, no commute, no idea what year it even was. Just the sun, the group, and the work of staying alive until the sun went down again. It sounds brutal. It sounds like a life of constant suffering, endless labor, one bad decision away from death. But here's the strange part. The evidence says otherwise. In 1963, an anthropologist named Richard Lee lived among the Juhansi people of the Kalahari Desert to measure exactly how hard survival actually was. He expected exhaustion. He expected people working from sunrise to sunset just to scrape together enough calories to survive. What he found broke the assumption completely. Adults worked around 15 hours a week to meet their basic food needs. 15, not 50, not 70. 15 the rest of the time was spent resting, talking, making tools, telling stories, and doing what Lee called, almost with disbelief, a great deal of leisure. This wasn't a fluke. Decades later, the anthropologist James Suzman spent years living with the same Juhansi communities and reached a similar conclusion. Foraging societies were not scraping by. In many cases, they were working less than people do today, in offices, in factories, on farms. So why does hunter-gatherer sound like a synonym for hardship? Because you're comparing the wrong things. Modern life gave you food security. It did not give you free time. Your ancestors had both most of the time in most environments. The catch is that word, most. Let's reconstruct a single day, because the details matter more than the summary. You wake up without a signal. Your body decides when, based on light and how tired you actually are, not on an arbitrary number on a clock. There is no bedroom door to close. You sleep near a fire, near your family, near people whose breathing you've heard every night of your life. Breakfast isn't a decision. It's whatever's left from yesterday, or whatever someone hands you. By mid-morning, the group splits by task. Some go out to gather. This is not a walk in the woods. It requires memorizing the location of hundreds of plant species, knowing exactly which ones are edible this month and poisonous the next, and tracking which ones fruited last season versus this one. The anthropologist Polly Wiessner, who studied the Juhansi extensively, documented just how much of this knowledge was passed down socially, not through books, but through decades of shared conversation around the fire. Others hunt. Hunting large game is a low-success, high-reward gamble. Most hunts fail. A skilled hunter might only bring down a large animal a handful of times a year, but when it happens, the entire group eats and shares. That sharing isn't optional generosity. It's insurance. If you kill an antelope today and give most of it away, the next hunter who succeeds will do the same for you when you fail. Nobody stores up a private fortune of meat, because nobody can. There's no refrigerator. Sharing is the freezer. By afternoon, if you're not hunting or gathering, you are almost certainly doing something with your hands. Repairing a tool, stretching a hide, teaching a child how to start a fire by friction, which takes far longer and far more frustration than it looks like in any documentary. And then, as the light fades, everyone gathers around the fire. This is where it gets interesting. Anthropologist Polly Wiessner also analyzed exactly what people talked about at night versus during the day. Daytime conversation was practical. Complaints, coordination, criticism, gossip about who did what wrong. Nighttime conversation around the fire shifted almost entirely to storytelling. Myths, histories, jokes, songs. The kind of talk that builds a shared world, not just a shared task list. You would recognize this instinctively, even without ever hearing about it. It's the same shift you feel when a stressful workday ends and you finally sit down with people you actually like. Now here's the twist, the part that upends the whole story. If foraging life involved this much rest, this much social connection, and this much food security, why did humans ever leave it behind? The answer is uncomfortable. Many of them didn't leave by choice. When agriculture spread roughly 10,000 years ago, skeletal evidence from early farming communities shows something startling. Bones from early farmers are often shorter, more worn down, and show more signs of nutritional deficiency than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. Farming produced more total calories, which allowed populations to grow. But it also meant more repetitive labor, less varied diets, And because stored grain can be hoarded, stolen, or taxed, the first real emergence of inequality. In other words, the agricultural revolution wasn't a straightforward upgrade. For the individual person living through it, it often meant working harder, eating worse, and getting sick more often, all so that the population as a whole could expand. You inherited the tail end of that trade, your work week, your inbox, your sense that there's never quite enough time. None of that is a law of nature. It's a side effect of a choice made 10,000 years ago, one that traded individual leisure for collective growth, and then kept compounding for a few hundred generations until it became your Tuesday. So no, you wouldn't last a day out there. Not because your ancestors were tougher than you. You have their exact same body, their exact same brain, wired for the exact same rhythms of rest and effort and connection. You wouldn't last a day because you've lost the specific knowledge they carried in their heads. The plants, the tracks, the fire starting, the 100 small skills absorbed over a childhood spent watching, not scrolling, but the rhythm underneath it. The 15-hour work week, the unhurried mornings, the nightly gathering around a source of warmth and story, surrounded by people who would share their last meal with you. That part isn't gone. It's just buried under everything you added on top of it. Your alarm goes off tomorrow morning. You'll reach for your phone before you even open your eyes. But for 100,000 generations before you, the morning simply arrived, unscheduled and unhurried, and that was enough.